If you're sick and tired of eating chicken in the same old boring ways that you've been doing it all your life, then I may have a solution for your problem, because in this video I'm going to show you how to transform a cheap meat cut into a high-end product in a couple of easy steps. If you've seen any of my other videos and you decided to come back for more, then I assume that you are finding some value in them. If that's the case, please bless me with your kindness by subscribing to the channel, as it helps me grow and become better. In return, I promise to bring you higher value content each time. Thank you very much. This process will use a wet brine to cure the thighs. So we'll start by preparing the brine first, as it needs to cool off properly before we can add the meat to it. All the ingredients and the quantities will be in the description of this video, and I've used this recipe for 5 kilos of chicken thighs. So let's start. The brine is comprised of 3 key parts. Number 1, the mojo bag. Number 2, the seasoning. And number 3, the hot water. Now when I say mojo bag, you don't have to fear any black magic here. The mojo bag is just a piece of cheesecloth or muslin, and inside of it we have rosemary, thyme and oregano. Use fresh herbs if available. If not, dried ones will get the job done as well. The role of the mojo bag is to act like a slow release tea bag into the brine, infusing it with pleasant, delicious flavors and aromas. Next, prepare the sugar, the salt and boil 3 liters of water. Once you have all 3 parts of the brine ready, combine them, mix well and allow it to infuse and cool properly, or until the temperature of the brine reaches 5 degrees Celsius or 41 Fahrenheit. While the brine is cooling down, use a skewer or a temperature probe and poke the chicken thighs all across their surface. Don't be gentle and go as deep as your poking tool allows you, making sure that you don't poke yourself in the process. We need the meat to have as many entry points for the brine as possible, so that it gets preserved and cured in the next couple of days. And speaking of days, once your brine is cold and the chicken thighs are poked, put them all together in a large pot or container and let it marinate into the brine for 4 days in a cold, dark place. It can be your fridge, root cellar, anything that meets the conditions I mentioned. After this time has passed, we want to take the meat out of the brine. You'll notice that the brine is now pink, and that's a good sign, because apart from curing and preserving the meat, the brine extracted all the nasty blood clots and blood bits stuck into the meat from the butchering process. The more of that we can remove, the better it is for the final product. At this point, we have no further use for the brine, so we can waste it. After this, we need to heat up a new clean batch of water in a large pot. The temperature we're aiming for is 75 Celsius or 167 Fahrenheit. Why? Because we will briefly cook our chicken thighs in this water, but the goal is to make it safe to eat and not to fall off of the bone. So we're not going to raise the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius or boiling. Chicken or any bird meat in general can carry salmonella, and by raising the temperature of the chicken thighs to 75 Celsius, we're killing any chance of this bacteria from ever affecting us or our loved ones. This is why anybody cooking meat or with meat should always have a thermal probe. So heat the water to 75 Celsius and add the chicken thighs to the pot. Wait until the temperature reaches 75 degrees again, and from that point cook them for 30 minutes. No more, no less. Some people say to heat the water to 80 or 90 degrees Celsius to compensate for the drop in temperature that you will notice once you add the meat into the pot. But I advise you against that, as high temperature water will scald the meat and especially the skin, and you risk it falling off the bone. Remember, we want to cure this meat, not turn it into pulled chicken. After 30 minutes, take the chicken thighs out and probe them in the thickest, deepest part, usually next to the bone, to ensure that they reached 75 Celsius inner temperature and the meat is safe to eat. Then allow them to cool off, time in which we can prepare some strings or some butcher twines. because we will use this to hang the chicken thighs so they can air dry properly for the next 2 days or 48 hours. I'm gonna use my smokehouse as the drying place, seeing how I'm gonna smoke them after this, but you can use any dry, cool space to air dry them in. I also advise against paper towel drying because at this stage the skin is soft and coated in the gelatin released in the cooking process. If you try to dry them by paper towel, you'll scrape away parts of this delicious skin and lose a lot of that gelatin that is just packed full of flavor. So don't let the air do the work for you. As I briefly mentioned, after the 2 days of air drying, we will cold smoke the meat. I'll leave that up to you, how much or how little you want to smoke it. I prefer them very smoky, so I did 2 stages of 3 hours each, but you decide what's best for your palate. I am using apple and cherry wood because they complement well bird meat, and as well because I have ample amounts of it from my garden. You can use any wood that's traditionally used in your area or your culture and make the best of it. I understand that this process takes a bit of time, but trust me, the finished product is worth it. After you finish smoking, technically you're done. Congratulations, you have smoked chicken, an amazing way to enjoy chicken thighs. But if you want something truly special, split the batch into 2, leave some of them just smoked, and take some of them and coat them into this spice mix that I'm going to share with you in a second, because this is going to blow your mind. The flavor is amazing. Now, these spices and the wine are here to both enhance the dish flavor, but also to preserve it against any spoilage bacteria or fungi and give it a very appealing look. So mix the spices and the wine in a large bowl or tray and coat your thighs. Make sure that you put the spice mix in all nooks and crannies, and don't be stingy, and make sure that you use it all. You know, we don't want any wastage from the spices, because spices are expensive and they have a specific role here. After this step is done, we will put them all, both smoked and coated chicken thighs, in a cold, dry place for another week. This is going to allow them to cure properly and finish the process. I know it takes a bit of time to get this product done, but good things are worth waiting for, and you did it. You waited up until this point, and you rewarded with an amazing product that can be either enjoyed on its own like that, or you can cook some really good, amazing dishes that will benefit from this ocean of flavor and aromas that these chicken thighs now have inside of them. Its delicious, juicy and special taste can be enjoyed on a charcuterie board, on top of some nice oven-cooked rice, or maybe, just maybe, you can let the inner caveman or cavewoman out and eat it like corn on a cob. Trust me, it's very satisfying dividing a whole chicken thigh in 10 seconds and giving in to the animal inside of you. We live in a very bleached and sanitized society that lives by ideals. Those demanding them don't respect themselves. So the system, the rules, and eat some chicken like a savage. You're welcome. And if you found this video useful, like it and share it with all your cave people, friends, family and enemies. We all deserve some fun from time to time. Bye-bye. See you soon.